Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Crush the Rush podcast. Let me ask you something. Are you actually underqualified or undervisible? My guess is you're very qualified, but you just need more people to see what you're doing. So today we're talking about the difference between being the best kept secret and being the best known, which is a really fun topic. So I'm joined by Amanda Berg, who is the founder of Liberty Type. She is a formal investigative journalist and branding expert who has helped over 250 service providers close the gap between who they really are and how they show up online. And here's what I really loved about this conversation. Amanda isn't telling you to be louder or post more or do more. She's telling you to be clearer. And we're going through very specific examples of how you can do this. So we dig into why credentials aren't the problem and why visibility is the real differentiator, but more about visibility to you, your personality, your story. And so it's a very different take on what's actually costing you to stay hidden and what would invite you to share more about who you are, what you believe in, which and then turns into more money, more profit, more confidence, and more opportunity. So if you have ever thought, I know I'm really good at what I do, why does it feel so hard to get known? Then this episode is definitely for you. Hi, Amanda. Welcome to the Crush the Rush podcast. We're so excited to have you today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. We're going to dig right in. I'm so excited about our topic today. And it's really all about not being a secret. Like, you're so good at what you do. Like, let's figure out a way to get it known to the world. But before we do that, I want to ask the question that we ask all our guests. And that is, what does building a life first business mean to you right now?
You know, I have 3 little kids. And so just being able to do all the school stuff with them and being able to, my husband's a stay-at-home dad, which is really, really nice to have that support. I know you're in a similar situation. So I just love us being able to just do things as a family or just have lunch together and, go to the school play and do all of those things. So they're obviously my top priority. And so being able to work around them and when they need me is everything to me right now.
Yeah. So if you're listening, how do you structure your schedule? Like, what does that logistically look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, granular. My husband takes my little ones in the morning. I have a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So the 9-year-old's in school. So that's a little bit of a break, I guess, from having all 3 at once. And then we have the 5-year-old that goes to pre-K. And then we have the little one. And my husband loves to exercise and loves to work out. So he takes them to the gym and gets that kind of time for himself, because being with the kids all the time, he needs that. And then, after 1 o'clock, it's kind of up in the air. Like, do we want to go to the playground? Do I have some work I want to finish?
Yeah.
And the kids are going to find something to do. So, but I have a hard stop at, 3:30. So I can go and get my son from school. And when he gets off the bus, and I'm always there, waiting for him and not working or too busy.
Yeah, I love that. I'm always so curious. I feel like that's why I love reality TV. I'm like, I want to know, how does it really, truly work behind the scenes? So I think people listening can appreciate that. And we do similar things. I mean, no 1 week is the same, but definitely having some boundaries over this is my time and this is your time and this is when I'm doing this helps a lot. So thank you for sharing that. I want to dig in. You have a lot of experience working with service providers. And one of the things that I hear quite a bit is, I'm really good at what I do. And I know people are good at what they do because I can see it. So they're brilliant experts in their category of expertise, but they're still really underbooked. And so I'm curious, as you look across all the experts that you've helped, what patterns do you see as to why this happens?
Yeah, it's so hard because I'm sure as you work with people, you see this when people are so amazing at what they do and they have so much potential. And for me, it feels like they kind of work twice. Like they work once with the client and then they have to work additional, like double, to market themselves and to show off that they're good at what they do, and to kind of add that layer of explaining or justifying, right? Because usually their brand and their website, their message doesn't do a lot of that for them. And so they're like sending a link to someone and like, wait, I have some other things I can send you. And they're like always supplementing, right? With like, let me show you how good I really am. And so that's really what we help people do, is like, you are great at your expertise and your credentials and how you serve your people. And we're great at translating that so those people can hear what you're saying.
Yeah. And I always say, you don't want people to have to dig for it. So I always use the reference of like, pretend like you're talking to a kindergartner, or you maybe have 5 seconds to make a first impression. Yeah. And so I'm curious if you see that, of like, when somebody comes to your website or looks at what you do, like, you need that. Doesn't have to be like catchy by any means, but you need to capture their attention with your credibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think credibility for a lot of people means like, oh, these are the degrees I have. These are the amount of people that I've served. This is an award I've won. And that is credibility, and that's expertise, and that's wonderful. But credibility is also how you speak to people. Like, can you, dumb things down so that people actually can hear you and understand? I'm sure we've all, in school had, math was never my strong suit. And I had a math teacher in 7th grade that like broke math down in a way that I had never heard it before. And for the first time, I felt good at math. Right. And so if you can do that with your messaging, where you make people feel heard for the very first time, or you explain things in a way they've never heard before, which with ChatGPT and cloud and all these things that are now writing for people is more important than ever, because you, like you said, you really do only have those few seconds to get and then maintain someone's attention.
Yeah, I love this. One of the other things that I saw when I was sort of researching for this episode is that you say visibility, not credentials, is the thing that separates people from being really well known. And so I think that layers into what you were just talking about, but can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah. So when you're just starting out and you are like taking any kind of job you can get, and you're offering whatever you can offer because you're trying to get the experience and the expertise, right? Like, you're trying to get the projects under your belt. That's a different scenario. But when you are to the point where you are good at what you do, a lot of people are the same. Like, the credentials are really the same. I think to, NASA or SpaceX, right? When they're looking for astronauts, like when you are at the top level, everyone really has the same experience. Like, they all went to Ivy League schools. They all have degrees in the same things. And so at the end of the day, like, NASA will tell you, it comes down to personality. It comes down to, do we like you?
I love that.
Everyone on paper is the same thing. And so if you are a therapist and you own a therapy center with a dozen therapists, everyone in your area is probably on the same caliber. They all have the same degree as you. They all have, 6 to 10 therapists under their belt at their center, right? Like, everyone is really operating from the same resume. And so as much as you can put your message out there, as much as you can position yourself and get really specific, that's going to help you stand out versus, just relying on, I have a PhD, or I've been in business 10 years.
I love the astronaut analogy. It made me think of, have you ever read the book Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid? She's like a pretty well-known author. It follows like a woman astronaut, and it talks about like how she got chosen to, I think she eventually went up into space. I read it last summer, so it's a little blurry, but it made me think of that. I was like, you're right. Like, they did all have the same credentials, and like, what made her stand out as like, I can do this and I'm qualified to do this. And I think that's a great, just something to put in the back of your head to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, that sounds great. Like, how do I stand out? What does that look like? How do I come up with a thing that's going to make me stand out from the 10 other therapists or ironically, my girls are going to the orthodontist this afternoon, or like the 10 other orthodontists in the neighborhood. Like what is the thing? Or the, everyone's like, there's so many coaches. Like, how am I going to stand out? What do you do to sort of take that first step to let your personality sort of shine through?
Yeah, I think so many people are afraid to get specific because they feel like that will alienate them from serving other people. But as specific as you can get, other people can find their story in what you're saying, right? So if you are talking about, number one, just not using jargon and industry language, right? And you're going to be really specific in your message and how you talk to people, and giving them an emotional point to kind of anchor down on, right? Instead of like, I serve, but like the boilerplate stuff that everyone's eyes glaze over for. So if you're saying like, don't you wish that, you could jump on the trampoline with your 3 children? And people are like, well, maybe my client doesn't have a trampoline, or maybe they don't have 3 kids, but people can hear that and they understand what that means. Like, we all hate to disappoint our children, right? And so people can find their story and insert it in. So don't be afraid to be specific. You're not going to narrow down too much and turn too many people away. I think with a lot of service providers too, especially like orthodontists, therapists, the bar is so low when it comes to branding and messaging and marketing, that if you're doing anything, you're probably worlds above what your competition is doing. A lot of them are not taking branding and marketing seriously because they're relying on their work being good enough and their work doing the talking and that kind of reputation preceding them. And I think that is something that a lot of us struggle with is, I'm good at what I do, and isn't that enough? Like, I'm great at wedding photography. Like, can't my pictures just show that off? And it can, doing the best work is great marketing. But there comes a time where now you have kind of dried up your pool of your referrals and your inner circle. And now you need to expand and like we talked about before, get more visible. And so that's when, branding and marketing can help.
Yeah. I love thinking of it this way. I was actually thinking, I have a client who works a lot with dentist offices, and she was messaging me the other day, and she was saying she went into this dentist office and it was like a Disney themed dentist office, and they like gave all the parents coffee with like pink glitter on top. And I was like, what? But I totally remembered it. And so it's like, I'm not saying that you should talk about, coffee with pink glitter, but like maybe you should. Or another example that came to mind was us using the term antisocial school. And I came up with the name of our program, and I was like, I was nervous to share it because it has like a negative connotation, but it's actually a very positive framework. But I do feel like when I niched down and started saying like, I'll teach you how to grow and scale your business without relying on social media, that's when things shifted more, because people would recognize like that little saying. And so I'm curious if you have any examples from different clients that you could share of like maybe what was unique with them that helped them stand out. If we're working on like brainstorming, maybe what makes us unique.
Yeah. It really is about finding that thing. There are so many brands right now that are taking like a commodity item and creating an entire brand around it, right? And the product itself is not that different. If you think of like olive oil, right? Like all olive oil looks the same. And then you have a brand that'll come in like Graza, right? And totally change the packaging and the branding and the marketing around it. I think there is such an opportunity for people to do that. Like, what is the thing that is so annoying about going to the orthodontist office? And then creating a brand around solving that problem, right? If you think of, I'm trying to think of or Dry Bar, right? Like women want a place to go and get their hair blown out or done for an event and not have to go to like a hair salon where they mainly focus on like cut and color and all of that. And you can really create an entire brand around just solving one very specific and unique problem. We built a brand recently she is a therapist, but she has 3 children and one of her children has severe autism. And she owns multiple agencies that help people with special needs, whether it's transportation or home support. And she realized through going through this process herself that when your child is diagnosed with some type of special need, there's a lot of thoughts that go through your head that are meant to feel really bad. Like, why was I given this weight to bear? Why me? Right? Like, yes, I love my child, but why do I have to be one of God's toughest soldiers? Right? Which is a phrase that she used to hear all the time. And so we built her entire brand around like bad thoughts, right? That parents that have special needs children often think these bad thoughts, and it's okay. And it's okay to grieve the life you thought you would have for your child, and you still love your child, obviously. And then from her therapist expertise perspective, she's able to teach them actual, how do we regulate our nervous system? How do we cope through all of these things? But just that one level of, hey, it's okay to think bad things when you get news you don't love, right?
Yeah. And I love that example because let's say that you're really any type of service provider. It might be like a phrase that you say or something that you do, over time, like over and over and over again, or, something that you talk about a lot. When you were sharing that, like one of the things that very accidentally became part of our brand was like the bus stop dream. And I would share like, when I was just talking to people like, hey, I just wanted to pick my kids up. And then I like put a name in front of it. Like I just made up a name for it. And so I think those are really good examples of just like little mini stories that people can sort of like hang on to remember you. And then they're like, oh, I remember what she was saying about having these bad thoughts. And then I feel like it probably builds trust. Is that sort of what I think the purpose of sharing that story is?
Yeah, absolutely. And credibility, the expertise, the credentials, all those things, they certainly build trust. But, when we're talking about a high level business owner that is being matched up with everybody that's got the same credentials, I mean, when you are in a situation and you want to sit down and talk with someone, you choose someone that you trust. And why do you trust them? Because they listen to you, because you feel like they understand you, right? And so many times messaging is like a mirror instead of a window, right? So you're like saying the things that like, oh, well, I've given them all the information. Like I've told them how I can help, and I've listed out the steps in our process, and you're reflecting yourself back at you, right? Instead of letting them themselves. And that's what someone wants to do. They want to come to a website and read your copy or in your bio, in your social media content, and be like, wow, I've never heard it said that way before. Like this person really gets me. Like we all have these dreams of being able to do something that seems maybe small, like picking your kids up from school. But like you said, calling that, the bus stop dream, right? That's something that we can all, it emotionally resonates. And then other moms can, even if it's like, well, my kid doesn't take the bus, right? People don't think about that. They think, I want to be able to go to the field trip. I want to pick my kid up from school. I want to be able to go to all their soccer games. So I love that. Just creating these stories that emotionally resonate and then make people feel finally seen and finally understood. There's so many people that are just shouting their message out. And, there's many people that don't feel like anyone understands what they're actually going through and how it actually shows up in their life. And so your message and your brand is a great way to do that.
Yeah. So many good examples. Okay. You also created what is known as the Best Known Challenge. And we love like a good tactical, like get into the weeds, help us figure out how to be, visible or known. Give us an exercise that we can do to really help us sort of nail this down.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do, I use Fathom. I'm not sure if anyone in your audience uses that, but essentially it's like an AI bot that joins you on all of your calls, all of your meetings. And so if you are someone, that operates your business a lot online and does a lot of Zoom calls and Google Meet calls and all of that, it's perfect. So it will record your call for you so you can watch it. It also takes notes and does all those things, but you can download the transcript from your call. And I love to take that transcript and then pop it into an AI platform and be like, what is something I can learn from this call? What are the pain points they said?
Oh, I love that.
Right? What were they looking for? Because a lot of times you're listening to respond and not listening to really hear, especially if you're on a lead call or like a kickoff call with a client. You're focused on like solving the problem. And then every once in a while, someone will just say like a really good nugget. Like when I said earlier that, a lot of business owners are supplementing, right? Like their brand and their website doesn't do the whole job for them. So they have to send additional links. That is a line from a call that I had last week where someone said that, like my website didn't do a good job. I had a portfolio on another website. My Instagram had some other things. And so after I sent my website, I felt like I needed to supplement, like, oh, check out my Instagram, and here's some more recent projects because the website hasn't been updated. And so I absolutely love that. It also helps with kind of shortening that gap between that industry jargon language that you have in your brain. And it's so ingrained because you have that curse of expertise, that curse of knowledge, right? You don't know what it is like to not know what you know. And so getting that human client language, I love using Fathom and then, whether it's ChatGPT or Cloud for that.
Yeah, that's such a great example. And I feel like coming from corporate, I am used to a lot of acronyms, or I have been told like, you said this, but I don't really know what that means. And so it's really important to like pull out again, I go back to like, if you were explaining this to a kindergartner, like don't use the acronym, use actually what you're doing. So I think that's just a really great reminder, and how cool to have the AI tools that we have now where you can lean in and use your own words and use it to do the research for you, really. I want to talk about your business a little bit, and that is Liberty Type. And I know that you have helped so many service-based professionals. Give us an example of how you have used this framework for your own business. Like, what are the stories that you use to stand out to attract your clients?
Yeah, so I really was my ideal client at the beginning. When I was transitioning from journalism to owning this branding agency, I didn't think visibility was super important because I wanted to do great work and I wanted to be behind the scenes doing great work, and people see that great work and be like, I want that great work for myself. Right. And we all know that's not, how it works all the time. So, I realized that if I'm going to tell other people that they need to be visible and they need to have a point of view and they need to be willing to be specific and stand out and be known for even differing opinions in their space and in their industry, then I needed to do the same thing. So the big thing that separates my agency from what other agencies do is that we operate from beginning to end in building someone's complete brand. And so often those pieces are segmented. So you work with someone to find out your brand voice and your messaging style, and you work with someone else to develop like a strategy for your business model and the brand and the marketing. And you work with someone else to write the copy, and you work with someone else to design the identity or to design all these asset pieces, or someone to do the website. And so that piecemealed process means that you're working with a lot of creatives that all have different visions. You can't trust that everyone's going to get it. And it feels piecemealed, right? You end up at the end with something that's beautiful, that's launched, and you're like, it just doesn't it doesn't flow. It doesn't click. Something's missing. And so that is that big thing that we do, is work with less people, which really is great for my work-life balance for much longer periods of time, because having someone in your back pocket that knows your brand so well and can help you with these little, like, I want to do another offer, or I don't know what to post on social, or should I do a podcast? And someone that you can bounce those ideas off of, that journalism background, and being able to sit down and do all that research and then figuring out what's going to make someone really listen and pay attention is something that's been fun to bring into this world. I know you have a corporate background, so I'm sure you're always finding like, in this business ways that oh, my corporate background really prepared me for this thing I did not think would go together. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love this strategy too because of the longevity of working with clients. Like, I mean, my goal is to work with clients as long as possible, and which is very different in the coaching world. But I mean, we've had clients that have been with us for like 5 years, which is a little unheard of. And I think that really supports that life first model of like, how do you design an agency where you are going deeper instead of wider? And I think people will appreciate that because they know that they're getting like so much more of your time than if you have, 100 branding clients at one time. So very cool. And also very much what we talk about here of like, let's lean in and do it really well and focus on the people that are like right in front of us. So I love that. Before we wrap up, we have a couple of rapid fire, and because you're in branding, like these are my favorite ones to ask, but like what brand do you think is totally standing out right now?
I mentioned them already, but I really love Garza and what they're doing for olive oil. I just think that's so fun.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm just obsessed with any brand that's just entering into a space like Liquid Death did with water or Oatly did with oat milk, right? That's just like, I'm going to take a commodity product that no one thinks twice about. And, if you look at, say, the skincare aisle, and be like, all right, all these are white, all these look holistic and herbal, and I'm just going to come out with something with black packaging. So I love the brands that are doing that.
That's a great example. What visibility platform do you like the most? Is it podcasting, Instagram, website? What works for you?
I love email marketing. That's been the lowest lift and easiest thing for me because I'm naturally a writer. And so I feel like I can come up with a great email and I can write it and I can schedule it. And I don't have to get my makeup done and get all right. Like I can shoot it out to people and, I own the list, which is fantastic. And those are my people that have already kind of raised their hand in one way or another and been interested in some way. So it's people that have, larger listening ears, so to speak.
I love email. Email is definitely one of my faves. Okay, just for fun, what's the most surprising lesson from your journalism days that you still use today?
I think definitely, how do you lead with the most important thing? Right.
Yeah.
I did a lot of more in-depth news pieces. And so how can we get someone's attention, but how can we also like keep them and educate them through the process instead of these, I didn't really write clickbaity type things. It was more in-depth, like exposés. So I love to do that with clients. And I never thought I would be doing different types of interviews. Right. But that's really what we're doing with our clients is a really in-depth interview so we can synthesize everything about them and their brand and build something visual for them. So I love doing that.
I love that. I feel like it's so fun to just talk about branding and like how to stand out in a way that like feels very organic and life first. So thank you for allowing us to have this conversation. But if you're interested in learning more about what you do and how to work with your agency, tell everyone where they can find and connect with you.
Yeah. So on Instagram, we are at Liberty Type Co. and then libertytype.com for our website. And you can see all our work and see what we do with our clients.
Yeah. It's also a really cool, like fancy website. Like it stands out. It stood out to me when I looked at it. I was like, oh, this is really neat. Like there's all kinds of different, like, I don't know, pictures and things that pop in and out. So it's very cool. Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is fun.